I have shared the syllabus with you all, and we have completed Unit 1, Understanding Gender. Gender, why should we study it, and socialization. Under socialization, how women are made and how men are made. That is making women and making men. Then preparing for womanhood. I spoke about that movie Ammai short film where they wanted you to watch it, and how a girl is prepared for the womanhood, and then how a boy is grown up, what are the social constructions a boy undergoes, and then first lessons in caste. I just spoke about caste, but we are going into detail in the later lessons. Okay, different masculinities and all. Now we are moving on to the second unit, the gender and the biology. So under this, we are going to study missing women. That means sex selection and its consequences. How parents are preferring to give birth only to the male children. Most of the families, they would like to give birth to the male children, and then only they think about girls. In most of the families, girls are unwelcome. That is again a socially constructed norm. Towards a world of equals is the textbook name, your textbook name. And here it is Unit 2 we are dealing, but there in the textbook it is Unit 4. So they want you to refer to Unit 4 of your textbook. Then we talk about declining sex ratio and demographic consequences and the gender spectrum. Gender spectrum, under this we are going to talk about beyond the binary. And again, your textbook, Towards a World of Equals, Unit 10. They want you to refer to Unit 10. Two or many. That means two is the prescribed gender identity. We know only about male and female. But there are many other gender identities which they want us to rethink and consider. Struggles with discrimination. What happens if there is a kind of imbalance between this binary or the two sexes, male and female? Then, demography. So what is demography? Demography is the statistical study of populations, especially human beings. Demographic analysis can cover whole societies or groups defined by criteria such as education, nationality, religion, and ethnicity. So this is again will be a short question for this. What is demography? It is a statistical study. Statistical study always concerns with numbers. So you have to use numbers, you have to gather data, and you have to collect data and then analyze the data to reach to a consequence or to a solution or to a kind of thesis. So this is about populations. Populations means number of living things, maybe human beings or any other creatures. If you study about the number, about their number, then it is called as a demography study. And here we are referring only to especially human beings. And this analysis can cover whole societies or groups. Sometimes we take the societies into consideration when the data is collected. And sometimes, we take only a particular group of the society. And what criteria we are going to assign to this kind of study? Education, nationality, religion, and ethnicity. Why these criteria? Because education is the prime requirement of any human being. So when the policymakers want to implement, say, certain programs, they need this kind of data. How many girls are there? How many boys are there? What is happening to the rural girls? Are they going to school, or do they require any special facilities? What are their families actually? What are their problems in the families? That they want to find out, and this demographic study really helps us. Like how many number of girls are attending the schools? How many number of boys are attending the schools? Is there a balance between the ratio with the existing boys and girls, whether they are attending the school or not, or whether they are continuing to the higher studies like undergraduate and graduation and all. So all that will be taken care with this kind of criteria, education, when they conduct a study, demographic study. Then the nationality, depending upon the nation or the country to which you belong, also this demography differs. Maybe in India, there will be a different kind of numbers like men to women. And in maybe US, there will be a different kind of numbers, men to women. like UK, Russia, and all, Japan and all, the numbers may differ. That is nationality. And moreover, the stereotypes also may differ, like the norms constructed by the society also may differ, and that this data will really help us to study it in a better manner, the nationality. And the religion, in many religions, there are different types of customs, there are different types of stereotypes running in the family, how girls should dress up and how boys should behave. All those things, they run in the family in a legacy. So that religion also forms a major part of this study. Recently, the issue is going on. I think you are all aware of that issue, that in a particular community, the hijab, the girls have to wear the hijab, and the authorities, the school authorities are opposing it. And the debate is going on and the issue is going on. This is pertaining to religion. And then ethnicity. What is ethnicity? Hope you all know the meaning of ethnicity. Anyone would like to answer? Okay. Ethnicity refers to a sense of identity and membership in a group that shares common language, cultural traits pertaining to values, beliefs, religion, food habits, customs, etc., and a sense of common history. Suppose if you take a particular group of persons, like a family, they have a prescribed set of rules and set of beliefs and all, and it runs in the family like a legacy. They inherit all these beliefs and all. For example, if you take the Sikhs family, SIKH, Sikhs family, the men have to grow the hair long. They should not put a scissors or a knife to the hair. That is the belief, that is the custom. Of course, now the generation gap is there, and gradually they are reconsidering their beliefs and they are cutting their hair. Sikhs family. Okay. So this is an example I'm giving you, a cultural example. This is ethnicity. Ethnicity, a particular group of the society, what are the gender issues they face. So this study will help us to understand those issues on the basis of this ethnicity. So these two are the short questions, students, demography and ethnicity. What do you mean by demography and what is meant by ethnicity? Then the consequences. What are the consequences and what is this study? Who carries over this study? The Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. This is the organization which really goes about with this kind of demographic study and presents the report to the government. Then the government can take an action and suggest solutions to the problems prevalent in the society. So what is the result and what is the finding out from their study? The sex ratio is declining steadily. Means gradually there is a decline in the sex ratio. What is sex ratio? It is defined as the number of females per 1,000 males in the population. So they take 1,000 males and they count the females. How many females are there per 1,000 males? And that becomes the sex ratio. And this information is an important social indicator to measure the extent of equality between males and females in a society at a given time. So this is an important phrase you have to remember, student. This is social indicator. This study, it becomes a social indicator so that we can easily understand how many females are there and how many males are there in a society. And it measures the extent of equality between males and females. So you may ask me, ma'am, what difference it makes if the females, the number and the male numbers is not equal? There are many consequences. Sometimes the consequences are adverse consequences. Negative consequences will arise in the society if there is an imbalance between these numbers. So what did they find out? The sex ratio in the country has always remained unfavorable to the females. Because the number is less, the female number is less, and this ratio is always an unfavorable because there are consequences. Let us see the consequences. First, find out what did they find. In 2011, 939 women are there for 1,000 men. This is the ratio. Okay, slightly different. And what are they expecting? By 2031, it will be 898. From 939 to, it is going to fall to 898 women. So that will be the decline of women. And as a result, what happens? Dominance and violence against a particular gender. Maybe it is female. They are guessing that by 2031, it will be 898. Even if it changes also, the number of women rises and the number of men falls also. A particular gender, the gender whose number is declining, will have to face the dominance and violence from the majority of the other gender. They resort to kind of dominant role, because wherever, even in a family scenario also, students, we might have noticed, suppose there are 4 people in the family and they are having a debate or argument on an issue, 3 people are supporting it and 1 person is opposing. Who will have the dominance? The majority. The 3 people will have the dominance, even though whatever the facts are clear, or when the facts are facts are credible also, the majority will have a say over the minority. So here also they have to face the dominance and violence. Sometimes, they may resort to violent activities also, means forcefully making the persons to yield to their whims and fancies. Then the next one is increase in incidence of crime and violence. I don't know how many of you have really noticed, whenever you open the newspapers, some time ago, these crime rate or the crime incidents reportings were less. But now, even if you switch on the television or if you open the newspaper, half of the news is about the crime rates. And especially the victims are the less majority. The women are the victims. I'm not telling that men are not the victims. Men are also the victims, but comparatively, women victims are more when you compare to this kind of crime and the violence inflicted onto this gender. This is again another incident. Then the impact on cultural practices such as dowry and bribe. So this dowry also will be there. Sorry. The impact on cultural practices such as dowry and the bride. The bride is the person who is going to suffer because she has to pay the dowry, or her parents have to pay the money in the name of dowry. This is again a social custom which is prevalent even till today. Till today, this social custom is going on. Fine with the parents who can afford it. What about the parents who cannot afford? They have to suffer. And sometimes, it goes to very adverse consequences, like killing the bride or the bride's committing suicide and all. It goes on like that. So these are the 3 important consequences of this demographic consequences which can be implied out of this demographic study. Okay. Now we will move on to the actual. That was the background when we move into the unit 2, gender spectrum. Beyond the binary. What is this beyond the binary? Binary means we all have the knowledge, that is male and female. Only 2 sexes have to exist in the society. That is what our mental mind map says, or we have the spectrum. So what is the spectrum? Spectrum is a band of colors, or it's a pattern in which something is designed. When you look around also, students, you will see a kind of spectrum existing in the nature. Anything you take, there is a kind of a pattern. If you take a tree leaves also, every tree has got its own fixed spectrum, how the leaves should be there. Different kinds of patterns you come across in the leaves. And the construction, how the houses are constructed depending upon the geography. You cannot have the same kind of construction in all the places over the planet. So depending upon the geographic conditions also, this kind of spectrum is formed. Even the human beings also have a spectrum, and the most commonly believed spectrum is man and women. And then the band goes on. The man should have these qualities, the woman should have these qualities. This is the spectrum which is prevalent till now in the society. Now, as educators, we have to go beyond this binary. Binary is the by means two, the male and female kind of gender discrimination or gender identity. We have to go above this. There are other genders above this male and female. That's what we are going to discuss in this. This is a pattern drawn by one of the artist students. I just compiled it so that it is relevant to our lesson, I thought. And then this spectrum, if you look at, see, I always talk about the pink color being assigned to the females, and here also the artist has given a pink color. Now you should tell me why always this pink color is assigned to the females and other color, blue or other thing for the males. Maybe what my personal opinion is, pink is the most beautiful color, I think, and that color is assigned to the women. And then the question arises, should the women look beautiful? Is it necessary? Is it mandatory that they should be assigned a beautiful color? So this is again a socially constructed norm. We expect the woman to look beautiful, but why is it? Is it necessary? And the people can question, why should we look beautiful? And the definition of the beauty again changes. Okay, it lies in the eyes of the person who is looking at. See, something may be beautiful to you, but something may not be beautiful to me. See, Aishwarya Rai may be beautiful for some person. Mother Teresa can be beautiful for some other person. So definition of the beauty differs. So when there is such diversity in the definition itself, how can we assign a beautiful color to a particular gender? This is the argument which is going on nowadays when the rethinking has started. So no more pink to be assigned to the women, but we do it unconsciously or consciously. The same thing I was talking in the previous class also, students. I was asking, can anyone break this norm? The boys, can you wear a pink color dress, complete pink color dress, and come to a college? I always put this question. There were two hands which went up yesterday when I was in the class. And surprisingly, what I was thinking was, even if you break the norm, and even if a boy comes to the college wearing a pink color dress, I will be the first person to raise my eyebrows. Though I am a gender sensitization teacher, but the moment a boy enters the class wearing pink color, I'll be surprised. So this is how we are fossilized. Our brains are brainwashed with these gender stereotypes. And this is the spectrum given to us. Now it is the time for us to reconsider, to go beyond this binary. And I asked the students, yesterday it was a face-to-face mode class, and I asked the students to give their interpretation of this picture. Very beautifully they have interpreted. One girl said, the beauty, the pink color is assigned, and then, the lipstick and all, it adds beauty to the girl. So the girl is expected to look beautiful. And then there is a flower. Flower is an interpretation of fragility, fragile, tender, beauty. So all these qualities are given to this girl to the right side if you look at it. And then above the eyebrow, you can see a flower with the seeds inside. That also indicates reproduction. That means the female persons are meant for reproducing. They are responsible for the progeny or carrying the human existence forward. So this is what the interpretation was given, students. I don't know how you interpret. And the male interpretation, I am really at a loss. I cannot interpret more. Sometimes, sometimes these pictures are abstract, and I'm very poor at interpreting these abstract pictures. Maybe I can see one waterfall from the eyebrow. I don't know what it means. That's what comes to my mind. If something else comes to your mind, please share it in the class. I'm ready to wait for you and listen to you if anyone is there to interpret. Fine. So that is the spectrum, the known spectrum to us. But there are other factors, the biological factors, leave alone the physical factors. but the biological factors are there which really brings about this kind of differentiation in these gender identities, which enable us to go beyond the binary, like chromosomes, genes, gonads, and hormones. Chromosomes are the tiny thread-like structures which are found inside the human cells. Human body, not only human body, any creature's cells. These living creatures' bodies are made up of many billions and millions of cells. Each cell has got a nucleus, and the nucleus has these thread-like structures called chromosomes. We'll talk about the chromosomes later, and then the genes. And each chromosome is assigned with particular genes, and genes are responsible for the characteristics we inherit from the parents, the inborn characteristic, physical and emotional, both. The physical, the height, weight, color of the hair, color of the eye, and the facial appearance, different types of facial shapes are there, sizes are. All these we inherit from the genes, these particular structures called genes. Then the gonads are the reproductive organs, which really give the gender identity. The binary is mainly given, and the differentiations also are given by these gonads or the reproductive organs. Then the hormones, there are particular sexual hormones which are secreted, and then they are responsible for these kind of gender identities, be it binary, male, female, or transgenders, or cisgenders, or the neuter genders. There are many other genders. I told you, we think about only two particular genders, male and female, but there are nearly 60 definitions for these gender identities. They are available on the internet. We can look at it. So these are the biological factors we are going to talk about, students, and this is the picture of the chromosomes in human body. And you can see they are pairs. They are not individual, they are pairs, and the numbers are assigned 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 22. 22 pairs are called autosomes, which are responsible for the physical formation of the body. And this particular one pair of chromosomes are called sex chromosomes, which determine the sex of the person, whether it's a male or a female. A male person will have X chromosome and the Y chromosome, students, you can see here. And the female person will have X and X chromosome only. This is again another picture of chromosomes, 22 pairs of the autosomes, and then one pair is the reproductive chromosomes. And this is what exactly happens. 46 pairs. So pairs of chromosomes are there in the normal human beings. Cisgenders are called normal human beings. Again, the debate arises, students, we cannot describe a person normal. You and I have no right to describe a person as normal, because the definition changes. How can you describe a person for whom he or she is not responsible for any changes? So there is no meaning in calling a person normal or anything. But if there are 46 pairs of chromosomes, then it will not be any kind of differentiation. Normally, the socially accepted persons have 46 pairs of chromosomes, and we are called cisgenders. So what is the structure of the cisgenders? 23 chromosomes from father and 23 chromosomes from mother are inherited. So out of them, 22 are autosomes and one pair is reproductive chromosomes. So father has X and Y pair of chromosomes in this one pair, and a mother has got only XX pair of chromosomes. So when the fertilization takes place, and then the mother's X chromosome unites with the Y chromosome of the father, then the boy child is born with XY chromosome. And the father's X chromosome unites with the mother's X chromosome, then the girl child will have double X, the X chromosomes, and it is a female child. This is the actual biology behind the gender issues, students. So this knowledge is required for us. Why? Because there is again another consequence, like in most of the families, women are blamed for producing girl child. I told you girl children are not welcomed in most of the families. And sometimes, they go to such an extent that they get women divorced and the men go for another marriage. But actually, fathers are responsible for producing the sons. Now the gender spectrum. So what happens if the gender spectrum is disturbed? The band is disturbed. For example, the rainbow colors, there are 7 fixed colors. If that is disturbed, then something which is unbelievable in the celestial formation or in the nature. So even the expected gender spectrum is disturbed. Inadequate male and female dichotomy. That means, there will not be fixed male and fixed female, but some other genders will appear. Then the process of sex differentiation is not complete even at birth. The fetuses, the fetuses which are there in the womb of a mother also get disturbed. Their structure also get disturbed because of this gender spectrum differentiations. At this point, I would like to bring to your notice, students, when the mother is conceived, the doctors prescribe a few tests like thyroid, the folic acid, iron and the hemoglobin. All these tests and the scanning and all are made. But there is a special kind of test called karyotype test. This karyotype test will tell the parents that how many number of chromosomes are there in the body of the fetus or the baby. If 46 chromosomes are there, then it is a normal or the cisgender baby. If at all there is a differentiation in this chromosomes, either 45 or 47 or 48 or 50, sometimes, this mutation, genes mutation will take place, and there is some kind of disturbance in this spectrum, and then, the baby will have a problem. If there are 45 chromosomes, I think the baby is born with a condition called Down syndrome. That means mentally retarded. The brain growth will not take place. And then 47 chromosomes, 48, gender issues will come. The boy is born and then having a female orientation or female characteristics. Like that, some kind of mismatch will arise if this gender spectrum is disturbed. That is why it is time to rethink. For the things for which they are not responsible, how is it right for anyone to make them responsible? Make them responsible in the sense we stare at them, we look at them, we giggle, we laugh, we make fun of them. Even if the slightest difference in the spectrum is there also, we raise our eyebrows. Just now I was telling, if somebody enters into the class wearing a pink dress, I'll be surprised. So it's time to rethink how far we are right if we show a change in our behavior, or if we express that we are not comfortable. If we stare at them, or if we find something wrong with them, something which is not suitable for our expectations happens, then we change our behavior. So it is a time to rethink. Then move towards the idea of gender spectrum. Understand that the spectrum can change. The spectrum cannot be fixed for gender issues among the human beings. It can change. That's what we have to look at. Now, this is the cisgenders. Biological sex and gender complement each other. That means male and female are there. There is no other problem, and they are considered as normal. Again, normal, whenever I use the word normal, again I get a question how far we are correct, or how far we can call anyone as a normal person. And then, conflict arises when there is a mismatch between sex and gender. That's what I told you. Born with ambiguous biological characters. So we can see them, there is some kind of difference going on. The mismatch, biological sex versus gender assigned. So what is this biological sex and the gender? Persons born with male appearance but female gender. That means they think like females, or with female appearance but male gender. They are born like females but they think like male genders. So this is an example, student. This is an unfortunate mismatch because of the disturbance in the chromosomes and all. Man is wearing lipstick, eyeliner, and all, and another man is wearing sari with bindi and all. So this is really unfortunate, and we have to. They are not responsible for this kind of differentiation in the gender expression. They are expressing in a different manner. So See, we cannot say you don't wear eyeliner, you don't wear lipstick, you don't wear sari. Can we ask anyone that? But if they wear, we stare at them, we mock at them, we laugh at them. So this is an unfortunate mismatch for what they are not responsible. So here, what is the difference between CSR and OSR? CSR stands for Child Sex Ratio and OSR stands for Overall Sex Ratio. Sex ratio is defined as the number of females per thousand males. It is a measure that compares the number of women and men in a particular population group. When the data is compiled for children below 10 years, it is calculated as CSR, and for adults above 18 years, it is calculated as OSR. Eighth question. What has resulted in a gender imbalance in India? In other parts of the world, sex ratio is measured by counting the number of boys or men per 100 girls or women. But in India, it is measured as number of girls or women per 1,000 boys or men. This has resulted in a gender imbalance in India. The child sex ratio has declined from 938 per thousand in 1951 and in 2011 it has declined to 918 per thousand boys. This means that in 2011 the situation seems to have worsened and there were 37.3 million more men than women in the country. Ninth question. What is PC and PNDT Act 1994? Write its salient features. The Preconception and Prenatal Diagnostic Techniques Act of 1994 has banned prenatal sex determination tests which used to be conducted openly in hospitals and laboratories. The salient features of the PC and PNDT Act are: as per the PC and PNDT Act, sex relation is an act of identifying the sex of the fetus and elimination of the fetus if it is of the unwanted sex. Offences under this Act include conducting or helping in the conduct of prenatal diagnostic technique in the unregistered units, sex selection on a man or a woman, conducting PND test for any purpose other than the one mentioned in the Act, the sale, distribution, supply, renting, etc. of any ultrasound machine or any other equipment capable of detecting sex of the fetus. Main provisions in the Act are: for the prohibition of sex, the Act provides selection before or after conception. Second, it regulates the use of prenatal diagnostic techniques like ultrasound and amniocentesis by allowing their use only to detect genetic abnormalities and sex-linked disorders. Amniotic synthesis means taking the fluid from the mother's womb and then testing for the chromosomes, number of chromosomes present in that to determine the sex, whether it is a male or a female. Then third, no laboratory or center or clinic will conduct any test including ultrasonography for the purpose of determining the sex of the fetus. Fourth, no person including the one who is conducting the procedure as per the law will communicate the sex of the fetus to the parents or their relatives by words, signs or any other method. 5. Any person who puts an advertisement in any form for prenatal sex determination facilities can be imprisoned for up to 3 years and fined up to rupees 10,000. Question number 10. Analyze the social consequences of the skewed sex ratio in the Indian society. Social consequences of skewed sex ratio are: first, sociologists and demographers have identified marriage squeeze as the adverse result of this imbalance. In Rajasthan and Haryana, it has led to shortage of brides, resulting in severe marriage crisis. The surplus men are left unmarried due to various reasons. For instance, they are poor, uneducated, unemployed, and as well as the shortage of brides. Second, it is a general opinion that if women are less in number, they may be more valued, but this is not the case. This has resulted in increased crime and violence due to the shortage of women. Third, honor killings are also a result of skewed sex ratio. Intercaste or interreligious marriages are not tolerated. Then fourth point, scholars opine that shortage of women actually reinforces traditional female roles such as reproduction, domestic work, and care work. That is, the stereotypes, sociological stereotypes will reappear. Then the last point, parents may withdraw female children from education and get them married early due to security reasons. And the last question, write about the first transgender college principal. In May 2015, Manabi Bandyopadhyay became the first transgender college principal in India. Coming from a lower middle class family, her father was a factory worker while her mother is a homemaker. She went to school on the outskirts of Kolkata and later to a well known city college to study Bengali in 2003. She says she decided to go in for hormone replacement surgery to change her sex from male to female. At work, she completed a dissertation on the role of transgenders in West Bengal, where their population exceeds 30,000. That means the population of transgenders. Manabi says her troubles began when she changed her gender and name in 2006. Authorities refused to recognize the change and she was denied pay rises at the college where she taught At home, her parents and siblings were worried whether her body would be able to cope with the changes. It took 5 years for the government and the society to recognize her status and give her own identity. She has recently been appointed as the Vice Chairperson of the West Bengal State Transgender Development Board. She hopes to help members of her community when they reach her in distress and give them space where they report their mental and physical abuse. So that is the end of the comprehension questions. And if this video or the tutorial has made sense, please don't forget to hit that like button, share and subscribe. It means a lot. Okay, bye bye for now. Take care. We'll meet up in the next video and the links are provided in the description box for the other units. Thank you.